Hi everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum and Greater Atlanta Realtors, and today's contract tip has to do with the protection period in the listing agreement, in the GAR listing agreement and the RE Forms listing agreement. There is one section of this that you may or may not be aware of, and I definitely want to bring it to your attention. So basically, when you are working with a public seller and they sign a listing agreement, an exclusive listing agreement, they agree to list with your broker, with you as the agent, to list their property for sale. And there's a beginning date and an expiration date. You must put an expiration date per Georgia license law. Then in those contracts, there is a section that is called protected period. And basically what that is for a certain number of days that gets negotiated between the seller and you when you are when you're signing the contract for the listing agreement, that if the seller sells the property, you're entitled, or your broker actually is entitled to the commission on that sale. And that's all spelled out. But it's not an overall protection. And so there's part of it that I want to read to you that just to make things clear so that everybody knows what they are getting into. So let's get started. I think generally speaking, we all understand conceptually what it is that we are talking about. So the GAR purchase and sale agreement, the GAR exclusive listing agreement is Form F-101, and it is in paragraph 7 under the protected period. And basically it spells out, it is very, very general in the GAR listing agreement. It basically says that during the protection period, again, the protection period starts after the expiration or termination of a listing agreement for however many number of days are negotiated in that listing agreement. And basically what it says is during that protection period, if the seller sells the property to a buyer and the seller, either the seller in their name, or if the property is owned in an LLC, any corporate entity of which the seller has ownership, so forth and so on, that basically the seller still owes the broker commission on that sale. And here's where GAR is very vague. It specifically states that if the seller during the protected period sells, goes under contract, so forth and so on, to any buyer, now here's where the very broad terms come in. Any buyer who made an offer on the property, was introduced to the property, visited the property, received information on the property, inquired about the property, or otherwise learned of the property during the term of this agreement as a result of the efforts of the broker, then the seller shall pay the commission referenced above to the broker at the closing of that sale to the buyer. Now, it goes on to say that the term protected period shall refer to the number of days that were referenced, and then there can't be an extension of that if the property had been under contract and that contract fell through. Then the agent sends notice to the seller that it's being extended. But here's the part that I want to bring to your attention. This states, again, I'm in the GAR listing agreement, Form F-101, exclusive seller listing agreement. Notwithstanding the above, so notwithstanding anything we just talked about, no listing commission shall be paid to the broker if this agreement has been expired or terminated by a mutual termination with the written consent of the broker and the seller, or, here's the part that might be news to you, if the property is sold or goes under contract to a prospective buyer through another licensed broker with whom the seller has signed an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Let me go over it in the RE Forms contract because it has the same verbiage. And in the RE Forms contract, it is RE 151, exclusive right to sell listing agreement. And in that agreement, It's paragraph 4 under other relationships. Now, it's not quite as broad. Defining the buyer is not quite as broad as it is in GAR. In the Georgia Association of REALTORS agreement, is what I just read to you. Any buyer that was introduced to the property, not only that saw it, wrote an offer on it, you showed it to, saw the property, but was introduced to the property, learned of the property, so forth and so on. In the RE forms contract, that specific buyer is a little bit more limited, and it says that seller acknowledges, should seller contract without the services of a broker to make the direct sale, exchange, lease option, blah, 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 to purchase the property within X number of days, you still negotiate the time frame for the protection period after the expiration date or any extension thereof to a buyer with whom the property was offered during the term of the agreement or any extension thereof. The seller agrees to pay the broker commission at the same rate. In this regard, the broker, however, shall furnish the seller before the actual listing agreement expires a written list of the names of all the persons to whom the property was offered, and the list shall be conclusive as to any commission rights. So if a seller and a broker have a contract to sell the house under the RE forms, before the termination or expiration of that, the broker must protect the buyers for commission rights by furnishing the seller a written list of names. In GAR, it's not required to do that. It's just more open-ended. But it goes on to say that it is agreed and understood that if and when the seller enters into any listing agreement for the property with a subsequent broker, the current broker's commission rights are enforceable only as a cooperating sub-agent of the new listing broker, except for sales contracts or exchanges, so forth and so on, that were entered prior to the expiration date. So, what does all of this mean? Basically, what all of this means is your protection period, your commission rights for the listing of that property in the protection period are only protected up until the point that that seller lists their property with another broker. As soon as that seller lists with another broker, you are no longer entitled to commission, even if the buyer saw the property while it was listed with you. That protection goes away as soon as they list with another broker. So let's say that you have the property listed and it's expiring tonight, and you get a buyer that shows it through another agent, through a buyer. The buyer has their own agent, their own broker. They show the property today. Your listing expires tonight. The seller does not agree to extend the listing agreement with you. So it expires tonight at 11:59 p.m. Tomorrow morning, they sign a listing agreement with another broker. All of a sudden, guess what you get tomorrow afternoon? You get an offer from the agent that showed the property yesterday while you had it listed. Nope, no commission. Per license law also, you must present that offer to the new agent that represents the seller now, and that new listing broker is entitled to the commission. So even if you have a protection period, even if that buyer saw the property while you had it listed, the moment they list with another broker, no protection. So that's the key point, is as soon as they list with another broker, no protection. And the buyers who are protected, your commission is protected for certain buyers. It's more general in the GAR contract. If you are under the RE forms listing contract, you must provide the seller with a written list of those names. Did you learn something? Let me know below your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.